Whether you operate one forklift or thousands, one location or hundreds, the new My Toyota customer portal can help you optimize your operation and material handling equipment. This one-stop, free-to-use platform is designed to help you take control of your information and make smarter decisions, all at the touch of a button. Register and access your data today at my.toyotaforklift.com. That's my.toyotaforklift.com. SaaS, RaaS, and now NaaS. Meter is here with networking as a service. That's NaaS. To bring fast, secure, reliable internet, networking, and Wi-Fi to your warehouse. With just one monthly rate and no upfront costs, Meter allows you to focus on getting connected and getting moving. No installation or hardware cost, and just one monthly fee allows IT teams to do more with less. And most importantly, warehouses save time on network troubleshooting, avoid expensive downtime, and get an overall happier IT team. Meter is already powering connectivity for companies with millions of square feet, including Stored, GoBolt, Veho, Trove, and more. Why not add your name to that list? Go to meter.com/thenewwarehouse to get your first month free. That's meter.com/thenewwarehouse for your first month free.
Today's warehouse needs to keep inventory moving smoothly and quickly. Meet these challenges with on-demand warehouse labeling from Brother Mobile Solutions. Our mobile and industrial printers will help optimize your operations to achieve the speed, reliability, and durability your warehouse needs. With easy integration for existing warehouse technology, convenient portability, and upfront affordability, Brother Mobile Solutions is at your side when it comes to warehouse labeling. Try one for free today by visiting brothermobilesolutions.com/newwarehouse or click the link in the show notes. That's brothermobilesolutions.com/newwarehouse to try one for free today.
The New Warehouse Podcast, hosted by Kevin Lawton, is your source for insights and ideas from the distribution, transportation, and logistics industry. A new episode every Monday morning brings you the latest from industry experts and thought leaders. And now, here's Kevin.
Hey, it's Kevin Lawton with the New Warehouse Podcast, bringing you a new episode today. And today's an exciting day because we have a member of Team Kevin on the show. Another Kevin will be joining me today, Kevin Mireles. He is the Chief Sustainability Officer at Delivered, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about Delivered, but we're going to talk mostly about sustainability today. And this is something that I think is becoming, it's been a hot topic. It's becoming more and more of a hot topic, especially as we are attending more conferences, and we're seeing at the conferences that lots of companies are talking about their sustainability efforts. They're trying to highlight these, and lots of companies are coming out as well to promote sustainability and focus just on sustainability and helping organizations to become more sustainable. So Kevin's going to take kind of a dive with us into this sustainability and logistics and kind of give us some insights from his standpoint. So Kevin, welcome to the show. Always great to have another Kevin on here.
Thanks. I hope we're not violating fire department regulations by having too many Kevins in the same space, but
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, it depends, I guess, what municipality we're in, right? So it's great to have you on. Definitely very interested in this topic and to talk to you about this. But I guess before we get started, you're Chief Sustainability Officer at Delivered. So why don't you give us kind of just a little bit of background there? What is Delivered and what do you kind of do there?
Great. So Delivered is a new national parcel transportation carrier. Mm-hmm. So we're going head to head with FedEx and UPS, but instead of owning all of our assets, we are orchestrating. So we're that one call, we can handle it all, right? People are trying to break free of the duopoly, but it's hard, right? If you're in Columbus and you want to ship to the West Coast, right, you got to figure out, sure, there's last mile carriers in the West Coast, but now you got to get it there. So you got to figure out the line haul, then you got to inject in. And, unless you're really, really big, it's hard to do. But with us, we handle it all for you. So we're that, like I said, one call, we handle it all.
Yeah.
One contract, one sales rep, one integration, one pickup, and one bill. So we'll pick up, we'll do the sort and seg, we do the line haul, and we inject into our last mile partners. So there's a ton of excess capacity in the market, right? They say 30% of all trucks drive empty, a ton of just empty space on planes, on trucks. So we're able to leverage that in order to give you much lower costs and better service. Then we're able to really, since we're using a lot of different networks, we're able to put your products in the right network to get the right speed at the right cost. So we're able to do things like actually move from the center of the United States we're starting origin area in Ohio, but we serve nationwide, but we're able to move packages from, the Ohio to the West Coast in 2 days at ground rates, because, we're able to leverage that excess capacity. So that's what we're doing. It's exciting. I worked at FedEx for 15 years.
Okay.
And so I know there's a lot of opportunity for improvement.
Yeah.
When I was there, it was really hard to get anything done. It was like, well, if UPS isn't doing it, we don't have to do it. So they really did not make the investments that really the industry would like to see. So at least we're able to do that and deliver the service that the market's looking for.
Very interesting. And I think, it's so much opportunity in that space, the shipping space, essentially, to improve sustainability efforts and reduce emissions. I mean, we look at some of the numbers out there, and, the logistics supply chain is such a huge contributor really to global emissions overall. But you now, in your role, you're a chief sustainability officer. So, I mean, it's great to see that Delivered is coming online and doing these things and has thought through their mission and put this type of role in place. So tell us a little bit about, because I think we're seeing more and more chief sustainability officers coming to organizations and being put into organizations, and it's becoming more of an important thing for people. So tell us a little bit about your role there, and what does chief sustainability officer actually mean? What do you do?
Well, so part of it is the way we're designing things. It's sustainability is integrated in, and we'll dive deeper into this, right? If you think about logistics, it's all waste. It's like, when you buy beer, do you care about the bottle and the truck that it came in, or do you care about the beer? So would you rather go to a brew pub where it's tapped, it's brewed on site, poured in a glass and handed to you, right? You've eliminated all the transportation and packaging.
Yeah.
So that's an ideal state. Obviously, that doesn't work in most scenarios, but that same basic mindset of how do you reduce your packaging and your movement to eliminate both costs, waste, and become more sustainable and deliver a better experience. So that's really kind of the framework that I bring to sustainability in logistics is, how do we be more efficient? And how does Delivered be more efficient for our customers? Or how do we shorten the distances we move? So how do we avoid, going out of our way to hubs and spokes, and how do we help our customers be more efficient, whether it's through, helping them with right sizing their packaging, which enables us to be more efficient because we're able to fit more items, in the trucks we contract, in the planes, et cetera, saves our customers money and delivers a better customer experience. So it's very much just how do we be more efficient, and how do we help our customers be more efficient in order to minimize our impact on the environment and be more sustainable, both financially and environmentally.
Interesting. And I definitely love that you threw in there that, if you're helping your customer with right-sized packaging and making sure that they're only utilizing the amount of packaging they really need for what they're shipping, it's helping you in the end too, because you're able to maximize that cube a little more and get more packages moved within there, which I think is a really great thing. Because I mean, I've obviously dealt with the big guys too in my days, and they never were really coming and saying like, oh, like, we could get this packaging better for you and we could fit more stuff in the truck. They're just like, oh, like we'll send you another truck, basically. Easy solution, right? So very good that I think that Delivered is focusing on that and has you in that role to be looking at those types of things, and that sounds like it's part of the overall business model, which I think is a really good thing as well. It's not kind of like a afterthought of, let's throw sustainability around as a marketing thing or something like that. I think that's a really good thing. So I think for you, like personally, I mean, what does, because I think people have some different ideas on exactly what sustainability means and what does that entail. But for you, as you coming into this role and you're putting your mission in place, I mean, what does sustainability really mean to you?
So first off, let me talk about what it doesn't mean.
Sure.
Because I think a lot of people, when they think of sustainability, they think of Whole Foods. It's expensive.
Yeah.
It's organic. And really, you go into Whole Foods, it's not really very sustainable, right? Mm-hmm. They have bottled water shipped from all over the world. They have tons of plastic packaging. It's kind of this, there's some pieces in it, but it's a really warped perception of sustainability. And that's, I think, when people think of it, it's going to be expensive. Mm. The great thing about logistics is, as I said before, packaging and transportation is all waste. The more you can reduce of it, the more you can improve your bottom line and, reduce your environmental impact. Mm-hmm. So for me, sustainability is all about how do we help, businesses be more efficient and deliver a better customer experience. And I can walk you through kind of a top 10, and each one of those will drive significant improvements to your bottom line as well. Right. So that's the biggest thing for me. And another thing that it's not is there's a lot of focus on like electric trucks and sustainable aviation fuel and new technology that's coming down, but it realistically isn't going to be broadly available for 5 to 10 years. But the reality is there's a lot of things that you can do today. And so that's really my focus is on how do we help people be sustainable today? And I just tell people, I'm the one-eyed man, the land of the blind, in helping people provide a framework around that. And so let me dive in there, because if you think about that, again, logistics is all waste. Mm-hmm. If the same model you use to figure out your pricing for your transportation is the same model you use to figure out how to be more sustainable. So if you think about it, right? Mm-hmm. Pricing is driven by weight cube of the items you're shipping, times distance, times mode, right? If air being the most expensive, truck being cheaper, rail, cheaper, boat, so if you can reduce your cube or your weight and your distance and move to a cheaper, more efficient mode, you cut your emissions and you cut your costs, right? So it's the same way that you calculate your pricing is the same way you calculate your emissions. So once people understand that, it's like, oh, light bulb goes on, right? Because it's like, oh, well, that's just basic efficiency. And I tell people, yes, lean and green rhyme for a reason. They both start out with reducing waste, right? Yeah. It's like with sustainability, it's like reduce, reuse, recycle, regenerate, right? It starts out with reduce. And so when you talk about that, the top thing I tell people is right size your packaging. Like that is just the biggest no-brainer, biggest ROI, massive impact, bottom line, and customer experience in the environment. And let me talk you through like how you can attack that. Sure. So starting from, if you're like in the manufacturing, is integrate packaging and logistics into the design process. There's a brilliant guy, Kevin Howard, highly recommend getting him on your podcast.
Another Kevin. I love it.
Another Kevin. He's a brilliant packaging engineer who worked at HP, and he got way out of the box. He looked at, well, geez, if we just made some small tweaks to the way we designed our printers, we could ship them with no packaging out of China and package them much closer to the customer. So we're able to fit twice as many printers in the same space. And since they're moving everything by air freight, they cut their transportation costs and their emissions in half. And by doing by postponing the packaging to the very end, particularly in Europe, where, many different languages, they didn't have to figure out a month and a half in advance, like, should I ship 10 in German and 10 in French or what? And then get to Germany, they'd be like, oh, well, actually we needed, 20 in German and 1 in French, and then repackage everything. They were able to then, be much more responsive. So that's the first way, is if you can just, work with your supply chain, your product design, et cetera. But a lot of us, right, we're pulling stuff off of warehouse shelves that are already in box and putting in the box. So then you have software and hardware solutions. So from a software, you have packaging, procurement solutions that'll help you figure out what are the right size boxes I should stock. And so like Pacurate, they will go ahead and run an analysis and give you different options. Here's the boxes, depending on how many you want to stock, here's the right sizes. So then those are the boxes you stock. And then the second piece is, well, what box should I put the item in? And again, they also have software that'll do that. So that's from a software side. And then from a hardware, you have box on demand systems, developed by folks like PackSize and Box on Demand. And there are others in the space that will build a box on demand to meet the right dimensions. The next level now, you have pack and ship automation that'll literally just build the box around the items as they're flowing down the conveyor. So in those, not only do you get right sizing, but you also get about an 80% reduction in labor. Now, again, those are going to be for higher volume, where you have, much higher throughput, but you have solutions all the way along. And so saves you money on your packaging. You're looking at, about a 10 to 30% cost reduction across your packaging and transportation, and a 10 to 50% reduction on your emissions. And just to give you some examples of impact, I interviewed one national retailer that their fill rates on their trailers went up by 75%, from 800 to 1,400 packages per trailer.
That's a lot.
So, that's just massive, right?
Yeah. It's almost, it almost would have been another trailer for their previous kind of state. Yeah.
Well, and the thing is, it was at the height of the pandemic. So they were being cut from 8 trailers to 5, and they were getting massively backlogged. They were able to get rid of all their backlog and just, with just those 5 trailers. Another retailer reduced the number of trucks by 14%. It's just the numbers just go on and on and on.
Right.
So that's the first thing. So the second big opportunity is just, where's your inventory? Where are you distributing out of, right? The biggest single source, biggest single location from an origin, right, is Southern California. And I love Southern California. I'm a Southern Californian. But for distributing nationally, it's a disaster, right? If you move your DC from the coast to someplace like Chicago, Atlanta, St. Louis, you're literally reducing your average distance by about 40%, assuming your customer base looks like the population. Yeah. And that results in, a 40% reduction in emissions. It results in, you're looking about if you're shipping out of LA, your average zone is going to be almost 70% are going to be 7 and 8, zone 7 and 8, right? The most expensive. You move to Chicago, you're looking at, you only have 1% is going to be in 7, and then you're looking at typically 4 and 5 is going to be, and then if you have 2 DCs, you're going to reduce your average distance. So one on either coast by about 65%. And again, your longest zone is going to be about, 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So you save money, you deliver a better experience, you cut your costs, you cut your impact, right? And a lot of people are like, oh, well, I already do this stuff. And yes, but they don't really understand the sustainability impact, or they're trying to put together a business case and they don't understand that. So again, it's just nobody's educated folks in logistics about this. And this is kind of what I consider my mission, is to just provide some basic insights to help people make better decisions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense. And I think it's interesting too, like you said, that, I mean, it's things that we already are kind of doing, but not necessarily understanding that they're also relating to sustainability efforts as well. Like you said, I mean, lean and green, and, reducing that waste. And we're always trying to create better efficiencies as well. But I think we're always trying to create those efficiencies with like cost in mind versus like thinking like, oh, this is also going to give me a more sustainable option too as well. And reduce my emissions or my carbon offset or something like that. I mean, I think it makes so much sense when you put it in those terms, because like you said, people think like Whole Foods, right? Like, oh, it's more expensive. Like if I'm going to go green or I'm going to be more sustainable, like it's going to cost me more money. Right. And that's not always the case. I mean, like you said, in some of the examples, I mean, obviously, if you're going down from 8 trailers to 5 trailers, I mean, you got less cost there. I mean, you like you said, they're backlogged, they're backing up on orders. So, then you have a customer impact as well. So you're actually doing things that is going to end up reducing your costs and your overall plus on the consumer experience side as well. So definitely really, really kind of 2 interesting points there. And I think those are certainly, I would consider them kind of low hanging fruit, I would say, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And then if you think about, like other things you can do, right, is by, again, moving your inventory more centrally or closer, you can avoid using express shipping. And express shipping, so there's 2 problems. One is jet, like, just to give you context,
sure,
is almost 80% of FedEx's emissions comes from aviation. It's about 64% for UPS, about 70% for DHL. So, right, they could basically replace their entire truck fleet and still not touch the majority of their emissions. So, and there's kind of 2 things there, right? One is jets are about 5 to 10x more polluting on a per mile basis than truck. But because they also have these very centralized hubs, right? And I'll give you an example.
Sure.
If the distance from DC to Boston is about 400 miles as the crow flies. As a truck drives, call it about 450 miles. But if you were to say ship it via FedEx, or like via UPS on UPS Express, it's going to route through Louisville. So now it's going 1,300 miles, right? Because it's flying all the way to Kentucky and then back. And now if you fly it, go to FedEx Express, and if it routes to the Memphis hub, it's 1,900 miles. So not only is it much more polluting on a per mile basis, right? You're flying these very indirect routes because of the hub and spoke model. And in addition, right, you have the takeoff is the most emissions energy intensive part, right? You're fighting gravity. And so you're having not just one, but you have 2, because right, you're flying into Louisville, you're flying into Memphis, you're flying. So, so avoiding shipping express, or if you're going to putting your DC, so you're, in Memphis and Louisville, or like with us, we're leveraging capacity that already exists on the airline. So we're able to do much more point to point. So lower cost and more efficient, and it's already planes that are flying. So that's, just, avoid, express shipping because A, it's more polluting, and B, the hub and spoke model drives a ton of extra distance. So again, if you can centralize or have your inventory closer to your customers, right? You don't need to do as much express shipping.
Yeah.
So that's another huge area. Then if you can move from truck to train, so intermodal, that's again about a 60% reduction in emissions from truck to train. It's actually about an 80%, depending on how much you can actually move on the rail versus road. But so that's another huge area. Now, we do have some challenges with our rail system. It's, as a parcel guy who started looking into this, is like, oh my God, what century was this? Is this in? But again, doing intermodal. So if you've got your DC doing fulfillment in the center of the United States, if you move from rail from the ports into the DC, again, huge opportunity there to cut emissions. And, depending on, the line, you may also wind up cutting costs as well. Those are just a few other ones.
We'll be back after a quick break.
You hear a lot about supply chains these days, because if the past couple years have taught us anything, it's that an efficient, well-managed supply chain is absolutely critical to keeping businesses successful and consumers happy. I'm Will Haywood, and I host a podcast called All Business, No Boundaries, where we talk about supply chains, how they work, what happens when they don't, and the innovations that are redefining what's possible in the world of logistics. Join me for insightful interviews with thought leaders and industry experts. We discuss how optimizing supply chains can break down the barriers that are holding businesses back. That's All Business, No Boundaries by DHL Supply Chain. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Step, step, step. Do you know how many steps your warehouse workers are taking a day? When your workers are walking, you're losing money. Endless trips to the printer or computer add up fast. Newcastle's mobile industrial carts with integrated power eliminate the walking to stationary printers and computers, keeping workers focused on high-value tasks, often doubling their output. Thousands of powered cart installations, including ones at the new warehouse's own micro-fulfillment center and in my previous jobs, prove that Newcastle customers get more done and save money. To learn more, head to newcastlesys.com. That's newcastlesys.com. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I think, and when we go and look at that situation there, I mean, I think that's a challenging one, I think, to figure out, because, you're looking at a lot of times, I think, and that kind of, I would say, falls back on almost the planners and forecasting is like, with that inventory placement, how do we plan so that, we can use like rail, which would be, potentially a little slower than some other modes, but how are we planning ahead enough that okay, the rail is going to be okay, it's going to make it there in time when we needed to make it there, versus like, we need to get something there, in a couple of days, like send it on a truck, like throw it on a truck. And I've certainly seen a lot of those scenarios where the planning is off or didn't plan at all, and now all of a sudden the Chicago DC is out of stock and now needs this product in 2 days, and we're throwing it on a truck that's like half full just to get it there, right? And I think I think it goes back to like that whole supply chain ecosystem where everybody needs to kind of be getting on the same page and leading these efforts, where your shipping side, your logistics side, it needs to be kind of in sync with the planning side as well, as I'm talking about here. I mean, you need to understand that, like, okay, like if I don't plan this properly and, I don't give enough time and create these kind of buffers and these rules to my business on when stuff needs to ship by and when it needs to arrive by, then I'm not going to be able to kind of take advantage of these savings on, the cost side potentially, but then also the improvements on the sustainability side as well. So, I mean, it takes a really kind of needing to take like that step back and really look at the bigger picture as a whole. So, I mean, I think in that sense, like, how would you say to like a company that's maybe having some of those issues, like I was just talking about? I mean, how do you take a step back and really kind of push for that effort to be taken on as a kind of an entire ecosystem and as like the whole of the supply chain for that company?
I mean, and that's supply chain planning 101, right? It's the same way that you're going to tackle, like, how do we get costs out? How do we improve our customer experience? There's no magic bullet. You need to get executive level buy-in. You need to get work across, these silos, getting them working together and, pulling the data. Like another thing that, it's funny, I left out because I just thought it was so basic. It's like, hey, ship fuller trucks less often. I was saying like, oh yeah, we went from shipping 5 days a week to twice a week. And, we just, cut our transportation costs by, more than half. And instead of running, 1/3 full trucks, we were, running more full trucks, and it really had zero impact from an, inventory, carrying costs, et cetera. So, I don't have any magic answers, but it requires, the same thoughtfulness and approach that, would apply to just improving your operations. And the only thing is thinking like, oh, wait, when I do this, it impacts, these sustainability aspects as well. And I think that's the missing piece. I've done some webinars and stuff, and happy to jump on calls with folks and just help provide some basics. But I think that's the missing piece, is the tools, is that existing supply chain tools need to integrate sustainability metrics into them so that people are able to, when they're doing this analysis, to also see is, oh, here's the impact of this from an emissions, from et cetera. Because right now is you have these various tools that are developed that'll tell you stuff from a sustainability perspective, but won't tell you from a cost and transit. And so it's the integration that's really critical for people to make better decisions. Because, right, you're not going to make a decision about, oh, well, we're going to do this just from a sustainability perspective, but we don't know the cost or the impact to transit. It's that balance, or realizing, oh, when I do this, I actually get a 3 for. Hope that answers, or at least provide some direction.
Yeah, yeah, definitely a little bit. I mean, I think it's a tough thing, because it's something that, like one person can take it on themselves to be more sustainable, but to get all the other pieces to fall in line as well is the tough part, I think, really, in, getting everybody to be on the same page and understanding what you're trying to do from a sustainability perspective is a difficult thing. But I think, if we look at what we were talking about initially there, and kind of taking it as an approach to gaining more efficiency and cost savings, I mean, I think that's really the right way to go about it, because that, I think speaks volumes to all different levels within the company, right? I think people, I mean,
no CFO is going to be like, oh no, you're saving me money.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's the thing. I mean, it's like, we want to be green, but, what the language that communicates across all is green, right? I mean, the other green there. Yeah, so, absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, it's very interesting and definitely, a topic that I think is continuing to evolve as well. But it's great to see folks like Delivered putting in place chief sustainability officers like yourself, Kevin, and having all that kind of be a part of the mission and a part of what the company is actually doing. And it's great to be seeing that amongst other companies as well, and that the conversation and the topic just expanding more around sustainability. So it's great to talk to you about this today, and definitely hear some of these kind of tips and insights of how people can go about doing these different things. So if people want to hear more from you or learn more about some of the sustainability efforts that Delivered is doing, or just some of the things they can do in general, what's the best way to go about doing that?
For me, to connect with me is probably on LinkedIn. Just search for me. There's not too many Kevin Mireleses. And then, we are early in our journey, right? We are a startup, which gives us a lot of flexibility, but it also means we have a lot of work to do in terms of, getting all the different facets of our businesses running. So you can certainly visit our website, www.shipdelivered.com, to learn a little bit more about us. We'll be building out more content to help people really with a lot of the different shipping challenges. And, we'll be having content around sustainability and helping people, make decisions around there, because at the end of the day, we want to help our customers solve their logistics challenges and be their partner.
All right, great. And we'll definitely put all that information at thenewwarehouse.com so people can easily find it. And we'll be looking forward to seeing how Delivered delivers on their sustainability promises and efficiency gains, and how you guys evolve over time. So Kevin, from one Kevin to another, thank you for joining me today on the show.
You've been listening to the New Warehouse Podcast with Kevin Lawton. Subscribe and check us out online at thenewwarehouse.com.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you want more content from the New Warehouse, check out our new video series called All Hands on LinkedIn. Just search for the New Warehouse on LinkedIn and follow along.